This is the world's first live, daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Hello, and thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's welcome anchor Faye What? She's a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate and owner of Faye's Fur Family. Also, make sure you catch the Faye What Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern. Good evening, Faye.
Good evening, Al Ferguson. How are you? And because of the new Faye What Show that's on Monday mornings at 9 a.m., I'm drinking even more coffee these days. So, God knows what's going to come out of this Latin mouth today. Let's keep it going by welcoming our anchor, Gregg Shapiro. He's a 1999 inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of two short story collections and 5 books of poetry. As an entertainment journalist, his celebrity interviews and music reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ plus and mainstream publications and websites. And his screensaver movie review column can be found in South Florida Gay News, San Francisco's Bay Area Reporter, RottenTomatoes.com, and more. Good evening, Gregory.
Happy National Thesaurus Day.
Greg.
I saying that when you're gay.
Yeah, Greg, could you recommend decaf? Yeah.
Decaf.
What? Did he say the Thor? What?
Thesaurus.
Oh, I didn't spell that either. Okay.
Let's welcome anchor Jeff Oliverio. He is a founding member and treasurer of the Hollywood LGBTQ plus Council, a unique community civic organization designed to unite the LGBTQ plus community in Greater Hollywood. The council will be hosting the inaugural My Hollywood Pride. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, and I'm so happy to be here. I wish I had half the energy of Faye. I could probably run this Pride Festival all on my own, but we're super happy to have our My Hollywood Pride inaugural event in downtown Hollywood this Saturday, January 22nd, from 1 p.m. till midnight. And we hope all of you out there will join us, and thank you for everyone here at Queer News for being so supportive of our event. So, welcome. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, January 18th.
Well, let's begin by queering up entertainment. Jeopardy's LGBTQ plus Amy Schneider watch. What more can we say? Our girl keeps winning and winning and winning Jeopardy. History maker Amy Schneider just won yet again tonight, bringing her win streak to 35 consecutive wins, and her total winnings now are 1,164,000. Keep following Queer News Tonight for daily updates of this amazing streak for this LGBTQ trans contestant.
I am so proud of this girl. I mean, I've told you, Al, like now I'm watching Jeopardy every day. This is me. I don't want to learn anything new. Ew.
You know, it's funny. We're doing this story every single day. We're going to do this story every single day. Partly because we're so proud of what she's doing and representing the community. Partly because we're pushing back the haters that are so vocal in social media about a trans person winning a game show, a television game show. Folks, what kind of sociology is going on over a television game show? But because it's Amy Schneider, trans, criticisms of her voice, of what she represents, there's haters gotta hate.
Go, Amy, keep winning and keep making Ken Jennings squirm.
So they asked Amy Schneider on her last interview if she would be up for hosting Jeopardy, and she said, yeah, for sure, when I'm done kicking ass.
It's just one more category that LGBTQ plus people are winning, and I love this story, and I hope we do it for the next, I don't know how many more days.
Yeah, we have to go about, I think, 35 more days. for it to be a streak record. Money, that's a whole different.
Cha-ching!
Ken Jennings was, he was.
He's sweating, right?
He was, yeah. All right.
Next up, we queer up South Florida. Task Force cancels Miami's Winter Party Festival. So Winter Party Festival, the party that started it all. No, I mean literally, it was the big disaster that started the pandemic off. As the first major event that was held in the early days of COVID-19, it was put under public scrutiny when several volunteers and attendees became sick and some even died. Back then, we weren't aware of just how much the coronavirus had spread. Now that we know just how contagious it is, and Florida is seeing yet another surge of the possible deadly virus, the National LGBTQ+ Task Force has chosen to cancel this year's Winter Party Festival. I also discussed this in bed with Hunky, Damian Lenore on this week's Faye What Show, so make sure you go check it out there as well.
Of course you did.
I did. He was hanging under there.
This is such a tough story. As a longtime volunteer and also a committee member of the Winter Party Festival as well, this was hard to hear. But you know, when you're doing a festival like this, where you're bringing not just people from all over the United States, from all over the world to be flying here, and housing and venues and something this massive, you can't wait to the last minute to change your direction. And I empathize with their very difficult choice.
And the decision was not easy to be made. Like I was speaking to Kathy Renna on the Faye What Show, and she was saying this is one of our biggest fundraisers, Faye. You know, this is not an easy thing to just say we're not going to do it this year, but the health and the well-being of all the people attending and the volunteers had to be paramount. So I give them kudos for that.
They made the right choice, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I have a couple of thoughts about it. Of course, we're disappointed, but they had to make this decision. This is a public LGBTQ advocacy organization. They, especially after what happened in spring of 2020 in terms of the launch. Faye alludes to it. That wasn't their fault either, of course, in terms of what happened. But they just can't go through the process of what potentially could happen because they're an advocacy organization. My friend Hilton Woolman potentially is going to continue the festival, and I support that too. I support the task force deciding not to because of their public nature of their advocacy, and Hilton Woolman or other organizations that are private promoters being able to do it because they're a private organization and they make sure that they follow city and the ordinance recommendations, etc. So it's still probably and likely going to go on in some fashion, but not with the task force risking so much more than the events itself. The second thing I would say is I just remind everybody, am I concerned about Omicron and Corona or COVID-19? Yes, of course. But the statistics are showing overwhelmingly this is two pandemics going on. One pandemic is for those that are fully vaccinated, which is everyone that you're looking at on this screen right now. The statistical percentages for those fully vaccinated are incredibly small. Not zero, but incredibly small. And that's exactly what our medical profession should be congratulated for what they've accomplished. Then the second pandemic is for those that are unvaccinated. 95 to 98% of all the statistics that we're seeing in cases, in hospitalizations, and in deaths are in this category. How can we continue to say at Queer News Tonight for months and months and months and months, in fact, for nearly a year, get vaccinated, and you choose not to? The consequence of choosing not to are the statistics that we're watching today. So it's two pandemics going on. Everyone at Queer News Tonight and Happening Out Television Network continues to implore you, get vaccinated.
Next we queer up the world. Poland passes Russian-like gay propaganda law.
Greg, I can't wait to hear I understand you have excellent Polish pronunciation.
Okay, here goes. A measure that would give school administrators and superintendents the power to remove books, lessons, and ban student participation in events or clubs that are LGBTQ affirming passed the lower house of Poland's parliament, known as the Sejm, on January 13th in a 227 to 214 vote. The measure, dubbed Lex Czarnek, or Czarnek's Law, after Education Minister I can't even pronounce minister, Zemslaw Zarnek, who has been vehemently opposed to the LGBTQ rights and the country's equality movement, now moves on to the upper house, the Senate, where it faces opposition and likely will be rejected. Observers think that the law will be rejected by the Senate, although under the Polish constitution, there is still a possibility it could be signed off on by the anti-LGBTQ Polish president, Andrzej Duda.
See, you did great.
So, first of all, now we know exactly how low the lower house can go. Also, sorry, Duda looks like a lady. Okay, just wanted to say that. I'm done.
Duda, did you say Duda looks like a lady?
Yeah.
Okay, got
An
it.
Aerosmith reference.
You're too much, Greg, I swear. So this Lex Luthor law needs to not pass, whatever it's called, okay? I keep on thinking for those poor kids, those poor, Polish teens, tweens, youngins, trying to figure out who their true authentic self is, and them not having any kind of way to go pick out a book in the library. That's kind of what I did, when I first was struggling with my own sexuality. That breaks my heart. I mean, I really hope that this does not pass.
Yeah, this unamazing Zarnak, is that the guy from Johnny Carson's show? Sorry.
The amazing Karnak.
Oh, sorry. He sounds like a terrible person, but to have these political leaders have the association, the anti-LGBTQ president, the terminology of that's the issue that you're being known for is, again, it's petty. It's terrible for kids, as you said, and also the fact that you have taking books out of the library. I mean, what is this, 70 years ago? I mean, it's ridiculous.
What is this, Cuba?
Yeah.
There's a gigantic difference between Poland and Russia. Although for LGBT, they're acting very similar, there's a gigantic difference. Russia's not in the European Union. Poland, you are skating on such thin ice. You and Hungary, first off, I don't know what kind of rainbow iron wall you're trying to build in Poland and in Hungary, but it is not going to succeed because you can't stand alone the way the Russian Federation can. You depend on the European Union in terms of security, in terms of finance, in terms of travel and tourism, in so many ways. And the European Union has told you loudly and clearly that if you continue on the path that you're doing, you're going to regret it. And the outcome in Poland, I hope the upper Senate, frankly, defeats it, and I hope the law doesn't get implemented. But just like the LGBTQ free zones, Poland, you are skating on thin ice, and you're going to freeze your ass off.
Well, now let's clear up gay culture and give Zarnak something really salacious to think about. New York's most infamous cruising spot captured a new exhibition. Books coming to Poland soon. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, the riverside western edge of Manhattan was far less developed than today. Infamously, many gay men went to the abandoned piers near Christopher Street looking for sex or as a place to hang out and sunbathe during the summer months. Fences around the piers kept most people out. However, the flimsy barricades were pretty easy to get around. So were some of the guys, that's what I heard. Before Grindr, before Scruff, even before AIDS, the cruising spots like the piers were where gay men went to relax and get off. Photographer Stanley Steller captured many photos during this time, and those were shown at New York City's Cap Gallery this past weekend. Steller's photos capture men relaxing, sunbathing, naked, kissing, or getting more intimate with one another inside the piers, which offered an abundance of abandoned rooms. The piers were also a place where street artists could practice their art. Graffiti by the late Keith Haring, who died from HIV-related illness in 1990, can be seen in the background of some of these shots.
Wow. Well, the piers are infamous and they have been the backdrop of so many TV shows, so many films and everything. So these pictures, they depict like the best and most beautiful, it looks like. I love them.
A time capsule. And I hope this is the kind of exhibit that will travel and maybe make its way down here to
your room?
To the Stonewall National Museum and Archives. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these pictures are, again, for a different generation, a reminder of how far our community has come and the struggles of, you know, just congregating presented themselves to our community. And it's why things like Pride festivals are so important, is because we've taken back the ability to come together. So I think this is just kind of a nice reflection on the past.
Nice segue there, Jeff. And since we're talking about prides, guess what? Saturday is my Hollywood Pride.
Exactly. You know,
Shameless plug.
I was going to say, did we get enough in there for you, Jeff? You know, it's funny. This story, I'm really glad we told it. I can't wait. I really want to see this exhibit. And the reason I want to see this exhibit is I have lived this exhibit. In 1985 and in 1986, 2 years in a row, I've been to New York and of course the Village so many times. I'm sad the Village is not the LGBT mecca that it once upon a time was, but in 1985 it was. And one of my fondest memories from 1985 and 1986 was this story. You would start at the Stonewall Inn, and you would start with drinks there. You could do some LGBTQ shopping down Christopher Street that you could not in 1985 do anywhere in Florida. And I would even dare say not even here in South Florida. I wasn't here in South Florida. But you could walk into shops, not just salacious bookstores, all kinds of things. You would stop at the Potbelly Stove restaurant, which was iconic on Christopher Street as you were heading west. And you were heading west for a reason, and you would have dinner at the Potbelly Stove, and then you would continue west to the Christopher Street
for dessert.
To the pier.
For dessert, and twice I did it, and both times it was an amazing experience. Wow. And you know, it's funny for me. I am HIV negative. But for a long time, I lived with the shame of going, so many of my friends in the 80s and into the 90s that were testing positive for AIDS and HIV. I went back to those two specific times that I had days and evenings like that and thought, gosh, how is it possible that I am HIV negative? And I am. It is a fun time, and it is a time that likely is never going to come again. So if you have the opportunity to see this exhibit, you should. Because for the LGBTQ community, we have succeeded in so many ways. But this is a wonderful part of our history, and I tell you that story very fondly.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for sharing, Al. So that is our queer headlines for today. Let's catch up on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has reported on coronavirus every week since January 6, 2020. Tonight we report that as of today, more than 4,734,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
Queer News Tonight remembers the more than 61,000 LGBTQ plus Americans that have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 526 million vaccination doses have been administered in the United States. So that's our pandemic news for tonight. Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. We're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine and supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Howard Grossman. I'm the medical director for Midway Specialty Care in Wilton Manors, and I'm the medical advisor for Queer News Tonight. And Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, we finished tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus Flash News. In LGBTQ plus Flash News, gay rights icon Jim Obergefell will run for the Ohio House seat. Gay rights icon Jim Obergefell, the lead plaintiff in the landmark 2015 case that legalized same-sex marriage across the country, is running for a seat in the Ohio House. Obergefell, a Democrat, moved back to his hometown of Sandusky in 2021, putting him in the 89th House District, held by Republican DJ Swearingen. Even if the district lines change through redistricting, Obergefell said he wants to serve his hometown of Sandusky in the legislature. Obergefell said, quote, "Knowing of the corruption in the Ohio State House and my experience fighting for others and fighting for what's right, I just realized that I needed to be part of making things better. I need to be part of fighting for everyone. I have to be part of making things better," end quote. Well, I think it's fantastic. I'm glad that there is an association with such a momentous moment in LGBTQ history now running for a state elected seat.
Go Jim O. I'm going to call you Jim O. That's it, because I can't say Jim Obergefell, okay? Jim O, I think, would be better for marketing and branding. I'm just letting you know.
Kind of like Mayor Pete.
Oh, for all.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it
Mayor
works.
Pete, right.
And maybe gay filmmaker and fellow Sandusky native, Todd Stevens, who directed the amazing Swan Song last year, and sets many of his movies in Sandusky, could make a movie about Mr. Obergefell.
Yeah.
I love Swan Song. This reminds me of a LGBTQ candidate that's running for a House seat here in Florida that also made marriage equality history.
Todd
Del May.
Yeah. Oh, Del May, yeah.
Shameless
I had
plug.
almost forgotten
He's
about
also
him.
the president of the Hollywood LGBTQ Council, and we're having a Pride Festival this weekend. How amazing is that?
What a segue.
Wow, what a segue.
Wow.
Wow.
LGBTQ plus Flash News. Trump. Trump unhinged at Arizona rally, stoking culture wars over babies and transgender. Your former president, Donald Trump, stoked the culture wars at a rally in Florence, Arizona on Saturday, making provocative comments about the Democratic Party's stances on transgender people and abortion. In his rants, he said, quote, "We're done taking lectures on science from a party that tells us men and women are men, and the babies, and this is a fact. The babies can be killed even after birth. They used to talk late term. Now they're talking about just go check out your governor of Virginia, your former governor of Virginia, and it's all just fine with them. Babies can be killed after birth," end quote. It's hard reading what Trump says because it's all gibberish. Trump was likely referring to disproved allegations that then governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, promoted infanticide in an interview in 2019. Trump also made multiple references to transgender people at Arizona rally, including his claims that the Democratic Party says men and women are men. Elsewhere in his speech, Trump promised to ban men from participating in women's sports. Watch this.
And we're done taking lectures on science from a party that tells us that men are women are men, and the babies, this is a fact, the babies can be killed even after birth, right? After birth. They used to talk late term. Now they're talking about just go check out your governor of Virginia, your former governor of Virginia, and it's all just fine with them. Babies can be killed after birth.
Did hearing his voice just simply make you cringe and tighten your butt like never before?
It's
because
called
it did that to
PTSD.
me.
PTSD.
It is PTSD.
Yeah.
Oh, if we could only ban golfing Nazi morons from participating in politics.
What was most shocking about that story was the governor of Arizona is not from Virginia. You're speaking to a crowd in Arizona,
You
right?
know, while I appreciate the insight that you just shared, Jeff, I am so incredible, because I'm not going to talk about Donald Trump, I am so incredibly disappointed that you weren't able to find a connection to Trump, Arizona rally, and my Hollywood pride.
I'm so glad there's no connection there as well.
LGBTQ plus Flash News. Munroe Bergdorf makes history as first trans woman on cover of Cosmopolitan in the UK. Throughout her career, model and activist Munroe Bergdorf has certainly earned the reputation of being a trailblazer. She's consistently used her platform to advocate for a wide range of social issues, from trans rights, feminism, anti-racism, and mental health. Now, in a beautiful moment for trans visibility, she graces the cover of the 50th anniversary issue of Cosmopolitan UK. As the first transgender woman to do so, on Instagram, the model celebrated the moment, writing, quote, "I may be the first trans woman to feature on the cover of Cosmopolitan UK, but I certainly won't be the last," end quote. She also takes a moment to uplift and praise the three interviewers: sustainability writer Asia Barber, gender and identity reporter Vic Parsons, and intersex rights activist River Gallo. I can't help but wonder what Helen Gurley Brown would have thought of this.
I just have to say, tens, tens, tens across the board. Love this story. Love that cover.
I love the reference to Pose. You know, there's very little difference between this story of Munroe Bergdorf being the first trans woman on Cosmo UK and Amy Schneider and her strength on Jeopardy. Of course, we say it all of the time, representation matters, but it places understanding of what gender and gender fluidity and the trans movement all represent, and that it really has absolutely nothing to the success of who you are as a person. I love that as a story.
Munroe is drop dead gorgeous and so deserving of this cover. Okay, she's a woman, plain and simple, mic drop, period. Gorgeous, you deserve it. I love it. I love her humility. And if you follow her on Instagram, she's just so beautifully humble. I mean, it's just a great representation of our community.
Fabulous. LGBTQ plus flash news. Michael Phelps weighs in on transgender swimmer Leah Thomas. Watch this.
I mean, look, like I'll say, you know, I can talk from a standpoint of doping. You know, I don't think I've competed in a clean field in my entire career. So, you know, I think this leads back to the organizing committees again, because it has to be a level playing field. I think that's something that we all need, because like that's what sports are. And for me, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I believe that we all should feel comfortable with who we are in our own skin. But I think sports should all be played at an even playing field. I don't.
Swimming legend Michael Phelps has given his opinion on the participation of transgender athlete Leah Thomas in the NCAA events. Thomas has been the subject of widespread controversy since setting a number of records for the University of Pennsylvania last year. The 22-year-old, who began to transition in May of 2019, meets the eligibility standards set by the NCAA for women's swimming events, but this has not stopped a deluge of criticism about her participation. The topic of transgender athletes in sports is a much discussed one in the United States, particularly after 9 states, including Texas and Florida, recently decided to ban transgender athletes from competing in female sports at schools. The legislation, which applies to public school teams through high school, is part of a national campaign introduced by, guess who, Republicans in 32 states. They claim it is protecting fair competition, but equal rights activists have argued there is no evidence that trans women and girls are dominating sports. I just have 2 words for Michael Phelps: media coach. He should be able to answer this sentence with grace and just come off with saying something that is supportive of the trans community, and also identify that, yes, you do not know enough about this to talk about it.
Please indulge me of a bit more. The level playing field here has already been decided. The NCAA and the Olympic Committee says absolutely she should be competing. They've already decided the level playing field. Michael Phelps shouldn't weigh in. Second, he compares drug use in his sport when he was competing of drugs and steroids to gender identity. Mr. Phelps, you're going to come back and look at your words and just horribly regret what you're saying. Not because you feel one way or another, but because you sound ignorant. And that's what you're going to come away with. And finally, you're going to so regret this, because I am told by production here that he was kind of ambushed by the reporter in this report. I echo Jeff's sentiment of having a media coach. You are one of the most famous sports heroes in American history. You should be completely capable and, dare I say, man enough to simply go, I don't know enough on this subject to comment on it. And that's what you should have done.
You think Michael Phelps was high? He looked kind of high to me. He looked like he had just rolled a big fat blunt and smoked it. Just my thoughts.
Wait, does he smoke pot? Oh, wait, never mind.
Well, listening to Phelps talk sounds like the pothead calling the kettle stone.
Oh, Greg, I'm just gonna.
Well, we can all agree it looks good in a Speedo.
Are we done? We must be done.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
So that's today's news for the LGBTQ plus community and the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast, like me, in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
And Jeff, where are you going to post tonight's?
I'm going to post this tonight on our My Hollywood Pride Festival page, so everyone will know all about Queer News Tonight.
And that's going to be on January 22nd.
This Saturday.
I'm tired already. Like we've already.
Join us.
We're all going to be there, by the way.
So Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
And if our community is to grow, you must help tell these stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. And by the way, we're getting ready to do that. On February 1st, we've announced we're moving to broadcast television. We are going to be broadcast on the new Happening Out television channel on Roku, Google Television, Apple Television, and Amazon Fire TV. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound, especially about My Hollywood Pride on January 22nd. That is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. And I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson. And on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Faye Watt, Gregg Shapiro, and Jeff Oliverio from the My Hollywood Pride, January 22nd.
We love My Hollywood.
We love it. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure